So here's another tip to put in the library for couples, which is the thought of repair. And repair is one of the most important skills to develop in any relationship, which is your ability to repair, which means that you have the generosity of being able to really listen to what the other person's perspective is, identify and ask what the feelings are, and really understand the feelings that came up with whatever story they had. Remember, the story, their story, is important because feeling understood in your story and accepted for your version of a story is important. So if you felt like you got hurt and you perceive something one way, then to hear that that person can understand where you're coming from and they can empathize with the feelings that came up for you generally and earnestly apologize and then talk about what the different way that they'll respond to the story or respond to you in the future if that situation comes up is the healing part. But it's really, really hard to listen to the other person's version of the story of what happened that you were involved in without defending yourself all along the way while the story is being told. So if somebody is telling you something and they're hurt, you really have to listen to their perspective on how they experienced it. And again, there's no right, wrong, good, bad. Everyone has their perspective about what happened to them. And to say what it is that you'll do differently is X, Y, and Z, and that you apologize is a start, right? It's not the only way though, because sometimes this is a reoccurring pattern. Sometimes the person feels insulted or embarrassed or humiliated or put down. And so then there might be a second level of repair. And this happens a lot in long-term couple relationships. The second level is that you would go into agreements, and some agreements could look like this. Whenever we start misunderstanding each other or we get into conflict, we're going to actually stop and calm down because there is a thing that happens in the nervous system when we are really overstimulated. We are not listening. We're just defending and we're in either fight or flight, right? And so if we're in flight, we're just coming up with our own interpretations of what's gone on. If we're in fight, we're going to keep defending ourselves and keep trying to win that battle. And as Gottman, the famous therapist that I reference a lot, often says, is that you don't stay in relationships to prove that you're right. You stay in relationships and work with relationships um, to prove that you can collaborate, right? Not even to prove, but to collaborate, to be more flexible, to be more expansive in another person's experience and how they see the world. Like going into their village and really understanding where they come from and how they view things. So we might have to have a set of agreements that we stop, that we apologize for the insulting things that were said and the hurtful things, that we make decisions together, that we stick to the decisions we make. Um, it could be, yeah, other decisions like we, when we get to this point of conflict, we separate and we do whatever we need to do to calm down, but we come back and talk about what's gone on. Or if we're unsuccessful in talking about things, then we talk about them with a third party. So as we know, if you've been in relationships decades, even 5 years, or really long-term relationships where you've been really day to day with somebody, that you know that sometimes these are reoccurring patterns and that there is certain aspects of a person that we have to accept. So some people might be a slow waker upper in the morning and kind of grumpy. Another person might not want you to talk to them when they're busy. Um, Other people have different like habits of how they are in the home, cleaning up things, not cleaning up things. So there's a lot to negotiate, accept, and understand. So there's material always. But that's why this level of agreement needs to come into play. And that repair might have to go into following agreements because sometimes it's not It's just not enough to say, I'm sorry, and I'll try to change if that change never happens. So I wanted to just say repair is the other part about repair too, which I think is really significant, is it's one topic at a time that we try to repair. So if in that reparation period, let's say the other person was hurt about that, and you get through that reparation, that if they go, and then 2 years ago, there was this other thing that you did, and 5 years ago, there was this other thing that you did. We also have to have an agreement that we deal with things one at a time, and we really believe each other when we apologize and repair, and talk about how we're going to behave differently. We really need to believe each other, and that might be hard because maybe there wasn't follow through. So we have to look at where's the weakness in the repair, and we have to reinforce it with other things. So that's one part about repairing. One of the most important skills that you'll ever have in any relationship. And if you're not open to it, and you're not open, the other person isn't open to repair, that's when the disconnect happens. And that's really unfortunate. And of course, there's many, many ways to deal with a disconnect like that. And there's also some limitations when people don't want to repair. So more to come with tips for the library for your couple relationship.